The truth about the Druid instance. What is going on? Let's see what he has to say.
So today we're going to be bringing you some discussions about the Druid and how I feel about how the Druid is at this kind of moment in time in the state of the game.
Okay.
I know people were probably expecting me to bring out some build guides to start with, but we will get into that, and that will be probably over the next week or so as I then get into Mastery 4 and really start to look at kind of the...
I mean, he has a job, okay, guys? He has a job. He's not like me. He's not like, you know what I'm saying? He has a real job, so because of that, he's still like Mastery 2.
Builds that I like to play when it comes to this new class. Being as it's my first time changing class from Necromancer, as I've played that for 3 years, this has been a real fun kind of, change for me. Completely different to what I'm used to when it comes to the game, and a complete change of pace when it comes to the class, because this class you have to play a little bit more slow compared to the spamminess of a Necromancer where you are just spamming your keys quite a lot. Now, really and truthfully,
the part of the spamming the corpse lance, it is the thing that really annoys me regarding Necromancer. That's the only thing, because the rest you have like 3 buffs, and then you are always like.
This emphasis on this video is going to be about kind of the essences and maybe the lack of, because that has been a big topic that I've been seeing going around on Discord and on Reddit, and
it's a new class.
We haven't got enough of them to have a really kind of diverse range of different builds and different kind of abilities for them skills that we've got. Maybe Blizzard focused too heavily on the transformation essences and not enough on some of the other ones that could have been in the game. We're going to talk about things.
I feel like that was intentionally. I believe that they know they only have a limited amount of instances, and they decided, because most likely most people that play the Druid, they play the Druid mainly for the transformation. That's like the fantasy, right? You want to become a bear, or you want to become a werewolf if you're a bitch, right? But if you want to become a bear like I do, and you want to be like a manly bear, a manly big one, and have like the best DPS and the best tanky build, yeah, that's the right way to do it. That's why I think they focus a lot on the bear. Obviously, the designer that made the Druid, he has a huge bias to the bear, because, if you look at the bear instances and you look at everything else, right? I think we can agree that he has a huge bias for the bear.
Like other classes, how many essences have they got in the game, from the original classes to the other classes that have already been brought into the game in the last 2 years, or last 3 years, sorry. And we'll just see how this goes. I think that this topic needs to be discussed simply because of the, I suppose, hate to Druid at this moment in time. But let's go into it and just discuss about what's going on. So as I mentioned, I've been Druid since the release of Druid, and I've been having a blast. I've got to nearly up to the top mastery. I'm nearly there, and I think I'm only missing one piece of gear, which is this shoulder piece. So I have managed to collect all 59 out of 60 pieces so far.
Respect.
And who knows how long.
We all know that, as a veteran Necromancer, we all know how Lawrence actually got these instances, right? Because, let's be honest, Druid also can do the same things as Necromancer does. And if I go here, like right now, I'm on a secret mission. I'm literally, you guys know that game that he was Splinter Cell, that you had to go behind the cameras and you have to hide yourself and you have to crack the neck of the guy. So I'm on a Splinter Cell mission, but if you are doing the same as I do, you just have to sit behind a rock, you put your pets out, and if you come back in 3 hours, you're gonna be able to see a lot of things on the floor, and it's actually really, really good, man.
How long it's going to take me to get that last piece. I've gone through all of the essences, checked them all out, and I've counted up how many per skill we've got, just so you can really see the issue with Druid, because I fundamentally think there is some issues, not necessarily with the amount of damage it's doing that the main complaints have been about, but the fact that there is other issues that I haven't seen so many people talking about. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what is the problem.
Ooh,
now,
we got a PPT.
I personally think the problem is the amount of essences that were brought to the game.
We got a PPT, boys. Back in school. We are back in school.
Beginning of the release. It should have been maybe another 30 on top, is what I reckon. So I'm talking about 90 essences. So the current breakdown when it comes to the essences and is this going to be enough is 60 enough? And I think the answer to that question, like I just said, is definitely no. At this state of the game where we're 3 years in and other classes have got far many more essences than us as a druid in the game really affects the way we can play the class, because we haven't got enough choice to be able to play the class effectively, in my opinion. And when I say that, you look at this next screen.
I'm gonna say something, because in a way I can agree with him that it is like 60 is not enough, but I'm gonna give a counterpoint to this, because something actually pointed out something interesting on the Reddit for the change, that they said that it is better to come with a character that maybe it's not going to be as broken as like others went, and also it is way easier to make, for example, a Tempest class or even a Blood Knight, because like they are like so one-dimensional. The only thing they have to do is DPS. They are not a support, a healer, a tank, and a DPS with like 2 variations. So the spectrum of the Druid, it is so more like multi-dimensional that is actually unfair to compare with a class like Tempest, which is like so linear and it's so easy to actually build it up. So with this in mind, I feel like the way they did it, definitely it is not enough, but I think there is a start here, and it's better to put the class with the 60 out, and then we will understand the problem. And in the next difficulties, the devs will probably look at it and start building up instances that will actually go and solve the issues of the transformations, then coming with like 100 instances like all over the place, and probably they will not like be as optimal as possible, and maybe like they will just like waste like a lot of resources on trying to make a class that they don't understand. They don't understand because like they can go and they can test it out like in their like QA and then in their Blizzard quarter. They can bring a bunch of developers and like a bunch of creators to try the class. But the reality is like once the class goes live, now it is with millions of players. So it is going to be way easier to dissect and create a bigger amount of data to realize what are the key issues. The key issues are the werebear, right? The werewolf, which is slightly underwhelming, I will say. I think it's quite clunky with the transformation. It doesn't feel like as good to play. That's my personal opinion. But I feel like the deepest and the biggest problem, it is the Surging Stone and the support healer class. You want to make a healer build for PvP, you can't. You don't have instances, and most of the instances of like Circle of Life and Thorns, they are in the same slot, so it kind of sucks.
And when I say that, you look at this next screen. This is the breakdown of the skills to essences and how many essences are on each skill. Can we see?
Absolutely intended. Absolutely intended. Obviously, that's what I'm saying. Like, they absolutely intended to put the focus on the werewolf and the warbear because they know that's most likely what people will be into it. It doesn't mean that there are not going to be other players that are not going to be interested in other things.
The issue here? I can. You've got one for both primaries, which is absolutely fine. Maybe 2 would have been nice for each primary to kind of mix it up a little bit. But then we've got 3 for Circle of Life, 4 for Earthquake, 5 for Tornado.
What I feel like it is even more surprising is that they actually managed to do the same number of fences as the bear and yet fell flat to make interesting werewolf instances. That's for me is what is the most shocking, is that they have the same number, but yet the werewolf sucks.
Fire Tornado, 2 for Rabid Might, which is a really good skill. Only 2 essences. The Savor Raven Swarm, which is really good for like overworld stuff and farming stuff, but again, only 2 essences, and I think even one of those could be changed slightly to make it better. Stag Charge, again, another mobility one, only 2. Summon Grizzly, being a summon class where we've got a few different types of summons, you would expect this to be more, right? But no, it's only 3. Summon Oak Sage, only 4. Summon Wolves, only 4. Now we start getting into towards the biggest issue. Surging Stone has only got 1. Now this ability is...
But this ability, guys... even with just one, or even without instances, it is so good. Okay, imagine how broken it will be Surging Stone in the future if we actually have instances to it, right? We have one that is gonna give you more damage and is gonna cost more primal power. But man, if in the future we have more answers for these, we may have some casters like knock up like very annoying PvP.
Like the best thing you can have for Overworld. Now, the fact it's only got one essence and there isn't another one to make it kind of, I suppose, better is a shame, because I find the thing with Surging Stone is if you want to keep 100% uptime, then you need to have class affixes, at least maybe one or two of them, to reduce the cost of the primal power, which to me is a mistake. You know, you should have another essence on there where it says Surging Stone's cost has been reduced by like 25% maybe. Because that...
I feel like that's gonna happen. I feel like in the future, there's gonna be a Surging Stone pants instance that's gonna be... It's gonna reduce the primal power by 50% and it's gonna reduce the damage by 25%. I believe that's gonna happen. The reality is you don't even need to use the pants. And you only really want to use the pants if you really have like 4 out of 4 of like the Surging Stone affixes for the reduction. Otherwise, just run the normal skill. That's all.
To me would be much better. Then you've got
bro, ain't the Druid got enough knockups? Yeah, like it's literally the knockup class. Every place you go, Stack Charge, knockup. Surging Stone, knockup. Bear, knockups. Werewolf, knockups.
It's crazy. Armor, which is absolutely kind of broken in my opinion. The amount of damage this thing can cause because of the seeds that it throws out. We've got 4 essences. We've got the bear here, werebear got 12, and werewolf has also got 12. So to me, the issue is they heavily focused on the transformations and not really give enough to everything else. We could have done with a couple of more on each one, to be honest, and not have 12 and 12. If they'd have dropped maybe werebear and werewolf to say 8 apiece and then added the other 4 from each across the board, 60 may have been enough, but in my opinion it would have still been lacking, and you'll see why on the next screen. This is the current breakdown per class. So on Necromancer, Barbarian, Wizard, Monk, Demon Hunter and Crusader, across the board, they all have 168 essences, which is like, I think it was 28 per slot or 27 per slot, which is absolutely crazy. It's just insane. It's crazy. The amount of build diversity you've got here and the choice you've got for your skills on the
But also we have to look at these classes. It is important that these classes have been in the game for 3 years, multiple Inferno difficulties, and over time, they started making new builds and better builds to go and correct problems that the classes they had. So if they came with 168 instances, I think first of all, it would have been extremely crazy for you guys to farm, because like right now we are saying, oh, there's not enough instances, but if there was like 168, everybody's like, oh my god, there's so many instances, how am I gonna collect all of these? You know, so either way people will complain, right? But obviously the more instances we have, the more diversity we have. But I feel, and I actually legit think that since I worked in tech, right? So in tech, you usually start with a MVP, which is the most valuable product, which you just want to literally just make it like the core of what is your idea of the class. And over time, you keep iterating and you keep acknowledging and the problems. You go back to the board. You try to make new instances to correct the old ones, and you try to make the class better over time. I feel like 168 instances without testing the class will be an absolutely overkill, right?
Instances to use is just absolutely insane. And even when you look over here, the Blood Knight, which was released on the 1st year anniversary, is now 132 essences. The Tempest, which was released last year, 102, and then obviously Druid coming in with just 60. You know, to me,
yo, Lawrence, what's up, man?
Not enough. That should have been possibly 90, and that is kind of what I say here. It should have been 15 per slot, right? we would have then had a lot more choice of what kind of skills we could have used and the essences we could have used on them skills. We could have had essences that helped us with our primal power. Because at the moment, that is one thing that I think a lot of people are finding difficult to do, is manage that primal power effectively. I think
I will say one thing. More than the number of the slots, I'll tell you what, in my opinion, is a major issue. So if I go here on the town, and let's go into the we're gonna have to abort our secret mission. I'm sorry, guys, but if I go here into the city, I feel like here on the offhand, it is just so weird. Look at the skills that they are adding. Like the random tier, all of them, in my opinion, they absolutely sucks. Bear is good. The Oak Sage, it looks so uncomfortable to play. There is only one that is actually kind of decent. Ferocious Strike, it is good, but if you want to use like a transformation build, this is actually not that great. Mangle, it is actually really bad because you're going to use 15, which is like 3 seconds of your transformation. And you got the pet. I think we need more variation on the offense. The offense is literally the worst slot. Most of the times you're trying to make a build and you actually have dead slots on your offense. It's like we are literally the kings of the dead slots, because the build itself, whenever you're trying to make like a Surging Stone with something else, or it just looks like very uncomfortable to try to make a build that makes sense. The same goes for the werewolf, right?
Probably manage it like 90% effectively, but to get 100% kind of perfect management on your primal energy, where you're not losing out on damage because you're sitting there out of transformation because you're trying to regen this power, just seems absolutely crazy to me. You know, for me, when it comes to what is really missing on here, let's just pop this away from the screen a second, is
Tempest had a major impact on release, forced a lot of classes to come up with different builds. Druid not so much. Yeah, because once again, like Tempest, you only need to build it up in a one-dimensional way. It has to do damage, and all the skills is going to be for the assassin damage dealer. All the 60 instances, they support this. And that's actually what Laurent is saying, is that, man, 60 instances for a class that does so many things, maybe not as much, which I also agree. I think we definitely in the future, we're probably going to see more instances coming, and maybe instead of bringing 6 instances, maybe like we're going to have 12. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be like still 6 per difficulty, but hey.
When you go into your skills, the fact that this here costs 5 primal power per second while transformed, but while you're transformed, you can't generate any. You don't generate any, so you literally have to wait until it's done, come out, or you time it once this is up. But this only generates 9 once it's used. That's once.
I legit feel this is fine. It's part of the lifestyle, and most of the times for your mid-max rotation, you don't even want to stay in the bed for that long.
Once you press, it's then 9. That's it. Then here,
if anything, what I want them to add. For me to, whenever I transform, I'm gonna be able to actually see the cooldown of my other skills. Whenever, for example, if we go here into the bear, right, and I'm gonna pop it off, and I'm gonna like do this. I'm gonna have this everything cooldown, and then I want to go into the bear, and I want to be able to see whenever this is actually comes out of cooldown, so I can come out of the bear and go in again. But right now, as it is, I have this in cooldown, I go into the bear, and I absolutely don't know. I know because I am counting on my head, like, because, you know, we're a gamer, and gamer, like, you know more or less the cooldown, so I know, like, if I use more or less 2 of these dashes, now if I go out, I'm gonna have my cooldowns, then I can go pop in, and I feel like they should absolutely keep, like, this in and out playstyle. I think it just makes it, like, the class slightly better, but that's just, like, honestly my opinion.
Generates 15 once used. That's it. So you've got 9 and 15, so you're talking here 24. Then you've got here, this generates 6, so you've got 30 that you can generate when you come out. Bearing in mind, This is going to take 5 per second.
We all know that in 1 or 2 years, guys, we're gonna be staying in the werewolf and the werebear 100% uptime, because on the Reddit they always gonna be crying that, oh my god, we cannot stay on these transformations all the time, like, oh my god, you know. And it's the same as the sprint. You guys remember in the beginning of the game, we didn't had beneficial effect durations or as much like skill cooldown reduction. You could not have your skills 100% uptime. And now, can you guys imagine playing a game that you don't have your sprint or your horse like 100% uptime? Absolutely not. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen the same with the Druid.
So 6 seconds and you are done. You are out of there again. You've got no way of regenning. You're out of form. You're walking around as a human form, waiting for stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's not always as extreme as that, but that is how it feels most of the time. The management isn't as good as it could be when it comes to the primal power, and giving us the skills that we need to effectively manage that to make the class feel viable against every other class. Now, the other issues that I've noticed
I notice, in my opinion, that the problem to compete with other classes, I don't think is the going in and out of the forms, especially on the werewolf. The fact that you always have to use the skills and you're always dashing and doing all these animations, it actually leads that you have so much downtime of DPS that leads to bad DPS on your werewolf. And the reality is, like, if you just sit and you try to primary attack only, you look like an absolute idiot. You're not gonna be able to output as much damage as that. So probably in the future we're gonna have this, primary attack builds that why does the bear feel so good to play? Well, because the bear, whenever you transform, you wanna have here a skill, the crunch, and this crunch here, it is a buff. The buff can be extended to your beneficial effect, and then you're just gonna smack. Who would have thought that a buff skill will actually feel better than just like using like you don't want to be always doing these, right?
in the game, really, when it comes to this, is, and I've just lost my Canva here we go, is these other issues here. So the damage needs increasing on most skills. There is a few that are kind of, like I mentioned, the Fawn Armor, which is absolutely perfect. I don't think that needs to be increased in any way. I just think some of the other ones need to be brought in line a little bit to make it kind of do the damage we'd expect a class in a game like Diablo to do. Primal Power Management. And that goes in hand with the next one, which is the Primal Power Bar needs to be unlocked so we can move it. Now, Primal Power Management, like I just mentioned, when it
where do you want to move it? To the middle of the screen?
Comes to, like,
I'm curious.
Your overworld farming building, you say you're using the Ravens. The actual essence says that you can't hit any enemies to regain some cooldown on that thing. But it's a generator, so you use it to generate primal power. If you hit things, you then lose the fact that you can't get the cooldown. So why don't they just change that essence to be that if you hit enemies, and the more enemies you hit, the more regen of primal power you have? Would have been a much better essence, in my opinion. Now, that's...
But again, it will lead to, in my opinion, to a very one-dimensional playstyle where people will just sit on a transformation and they will just always be playing on the transformation. And I feel like it was very intended for them to have a limited amount of time. But I believe that people are gonna cry so much about this on the Reddit, and you guys know that they don't listen to good content creators, but goddamn, if they listen to Reddit, man, if you cry on the Reddit about nerf this, nerf that, improve, like, they're gonna listen.
It's the sort of thing we need when it comes to, you know, our power management. You know, managing this energy better is the key to having Druid perform where it should do. You know, you look at Necromancer, we have corpses. You know, the more corpses we generate, the more damage we can do. We're using Grim Scythe. It's spinning round. It's generating corpses to power our Corpse Lance, which then does insane amounts of damage. We have the management there, which this class is currently lacking. There's not enough management when it comes to being able to put out the damage using the skills and the essences we've currently got. Now, what I mean about the bar being moved, I believe that the power bar, especially for PC, is too...
Guys, this year, if you listen, guys, I can go to the dummy and I can show you guys that the primal power management right now, if you know how to do the rotation, you need to know how to do the rotation, is actually not the biggest problem. That's not why the fucking like Druid is not doing, like, you go here and look at me. You do this, you go again, you get out, now you're gonna go in, and this is your rotation. So you cannot see here the power like here, but I'm gonna go out once again, I'm gonna buff up, and I'm gonna go in. Is the primal power the problem? Is the primal power the problem? No, it's not. Like, if you do the rotation well, you're not gonna run out of like the primal power. At least if you have a good build in this case, okay? Other builds, they may have like their problems, but this one is specific, which is the best build right now. It doesn't have that problem. That's not why we're not outputting as much damage as like all other classes that people have been tiering crafting for like 3 years. That has like 168 instances. People been playing this literally, they know all the mechanics, inside out, broken things. And Druid, like, we just like trying to figure it out, like, what is the best thing.
Too far down in the corner, like I can't see it half the time to even see what I'm on. So I would like to be able to have that unlocked so you can move it to come around your character, maybe make it larger as well so you can actually see it, and maybe have a number on there so you can physically see how much you've got. That would make our lives a million times easier. And the other thing that I'd really like them to fix is this last point here, and I'm sure there's many
sorry guys, I was reading in the chat. What did he say about the primal
locked so you can move it to come around your character, maybe make it...
Oh yeah, he's talking about like we have in WoW. Like, if you could like move it here and put it like here near your character, I mean that could be an option. So you could see it like slightly easier. That could be. Personally, I feel like most of the times whenever I am playing, I'm not even looking at the primal power. Like, it takes some times, but like you just get used to it. Like, and I feel like people just don't have enough time to get adjusted to the class. You guys know what I'm saying? Like, I've been playing for like 3 or 4 days now. I transform, I go into the bear, and now I know that I have to stay here like 6-7 seconds. Then I have to go out, I put it back, and then that's it.
Larger as well so you can actually see it, and maybe have a number on there so you can physically see how much you've got. That would make our lives a million times easier. And the other thing that I'd really like them to fix is this last...
But however, this being said, I would not mind if there was an option for you to put near the character. I don't think it will change much for me, but maybe for other players will make their life easier.
Point here, and I'm sure there's many more which people are going to put in my comments, is that the summon wolves aggro clearly does not work. You know, they can be standing next to enemies and they will not attack. Summons on necros attack straight away. That is how summons should work.
Listen guys, whenever I was in the Blizzard HQ, I reported this, but if I go on the secret mission, I don't know if it's like, because like, I'll tell you the secret. The secret is, guys, if you put your familiar pet with aggressive, he actually will attack. And I think the normal summons pets, it is actually not working, maybe problem, but the fire ones, they actually work. So look at it. So if we sit here, they are not gonna do anything, right? So if you attack once, then now they actually gonna work. Okay, you just need to send them once, and after that they're gonna attack. Obviously they have to fix this bug, because, you know, otherwise it'll be like weird to have it, but it works, because like, I mean guys, I have been doing this. You guys gonna see that I'm gonna leave this here, and then whenever we come back, we're gonna have some mobs then
work. Wolves should have higher aggro than what they do currently, because currently I feel it's set to 0.
But there's something wrong.
When you're being attacked, they do not defend you. If you're attacked...
Also, there is another thing that is important, like the pants. Not these ones. For the pants that says that the bear is gonna heal you, it is actually wrong. is not gonna heal you. It actually, what it's gonna do is gonna heal the pets itself. So they have to go and
Basic
change
attack.
the
Done. Simple as
text.
that. Needs to be fixed, and I hope Blizzard do address it, because it's affecting, you know, not just
Yeah,
obviously
our
AFK
AFK farming,
or
yeah.
relaxed farming, but it's affecting the build in general, because they're just slow, they're just lazy. They may as well just not be there. You know, they're cool looking wolves, but need to be improved on. So guys, that is really my 2 cents at this moment in time, and I think we will come out with build guides over, you know, the next few weeks. There will be plenty of build guides coming. We're gonna have, you know, raid builds, we're gonna have PvP builds, we're gonna have overworld farming builds, dungeon builds, you name it. We're gonna start coming through with them and bringing them to you, what I feel that I personally like to use after my testing. Don't get me wrong, some of them will be similar to other creators, but that is just the fact. It's a new class with limited essences, and that is going to be the way it's going to be at the moment in time.
That's how it is, boys. You can put like 10 creators in the same room, and even it happened in Blizzard headquarters. Like we most likely came up like with the same builds. It was insane. That's just because you only have 60.
As always, guys, if you like all of the content that I'm bringing to the game, whether that be Necromancer and now Druid, then don't forget, like the video, subscribe to the channel, jump in the Discord. We're there to have chats and help people as much as we can. And currently, we're live streaming for the next, I think it's like 7 days in a row, as we start pushing towards getting some builds made for the Druid. So log into the stream at 9:30 UK time, right up until midnight, and you can see some, you know, Druid gameplay. But until next one, guys, cheers.
All right, boys. Laurent here, man. What a good video. What a fucking good video from Laurent. Listen, this is the kind of content that I want to see from more creators, Diablo Immortal creators, man. I want to see their actually opinions. I want to see their critical thinking, and everything that he actually told here, it is valid. It was good arguments, and overall, obviously, I have some counterpoints because I have my own opinions, and I also maybe like things in a certain way. But regardless, very, very good video. Don't forget to go there, leave them a like, and subscribe.